Welcome back to another edition of Bulletproof Dental Practice Podcast. I'm Dr. Craig Spodak along with Dr. Peter Boulden, and we've got our good friend and superstar hygienist, Elijah Desmond. For those of you who don't know what a hygienist is, I don't think that title needs any further explanation, but if you feel like you may need it, Elijah, you want to jump into that for us?
Of the explanation of hygienist, it's the same thing as Mr. RDH. It's a male dental hygienist. I don't practice any longer, but I still hold a license in Hawaii and Ohio. But once a hygienist, always a hygienist.
That's for sure. So I'm happy to have you back because the last podcast we did together, you won the award of the best guest listener because you literally didn't have a freaking word that was said. I loved it. But you know, it's because Elijah and I are good friends. We met how many years ago? Was that 4 or 5 years ago now?
Yeah, about 4 years ago. Yep.
So we met in Vegas, and you know, you have one of those nights where you meet someone and after the end of the night, you're like best friends with them because we went through so much together. I'm going to tell the audience this funny story. Elijah and I went to XS in Vegas. Was it XS in Vegas, the club?
Yep, it was XS.
So there's a guy outside taking photographs and selling, and he'd email them to you. So you pay for that.
Surrender. It was Surrender.
Okay, got it. Yeah, the one with the outdoor pool and all that. So we go there. I tell the guy who's taking photographs to take his memory card out. Pete, did I tell you the story?
Yeah, I've heard this. This is yes.
Oh, yeah?
I can tell the story by now.
No, why don't you do it in sign language while I'm telling you? Because you've heard it so many times. So we tell the guy to take out his memory card and we give him like 20 or 30 bucks, whatever. We started having this guy follow Elijah and I around, and literally popping photographs in front of our face with the flash going off. So we're in this club and the guy is all over us. I'm like, you know, I'm telling him, please stop. He's shooting the photograph all the time. And literally like the VIP guy comes over, grabs Elijah and I, and he's like, oh, I'm so sorry about this guy. Let's bring you over to the VIP. Let's get you away from all these people. And everybody's coming up to us asking, you know, who we are. You know, it was really a funny night. And after that, I was like, this is my friend forever. So.
Yeah, it's been great. And then I happened to move. We met in Vegas, and I happened to move to your city, and you totally showed me around and, you know, got me my barber that I barely. I'm going to be getting rid of the barber pretty soon, but.
Oh, really? Oh,
okay. But really made me feel at home. So I appreciate that. And then you came on the cruises that I just started recently and killed it as a speaker. So anyways, got some love for Craig. And then whenever I met Peter, when I met Peter, I don't know if you knew this, Craig, but I did not realize that he owned multiple practices, like 4 or 5 practices. I had no idea.
Yep.
And it was so good to meet. First off, you guys act just the same. So I can see why you get along so well, but it was so good to meet somebody under that context, like not knowing like who they were and just know they're a super cool guy, but not really know how like completely successful they were. I thought that was awesome. So Craig didn't disclose that cool info about.
Well, you know, he likes to be the big guy in the room. So, I mean, figuratively, metaphorically speaking, and physically. So I don't like to rain on his parade.
There's 2 ways to make yourself significant. Either be significant or tear everybody else around you down. So I think Peter's saying that I'm the latter there. No, that's not true. So anyway, we've done enough bromance here. Let's end that for a minute. Elijah, let's go right into. I know it was a joke, but last time you caught Pete and I on a lot of monologue or dialogue rather, and you were having a little bit of limited bandwidth to get your points across. And you are a valuable speaker. You'll be speaking at our Bulletproof Summit coming up in October in Atlanta. That is a TED style talk, so it's going to leave a lot of listeners wanting, or a lot of attendees wanting more. So let's go into a little bit of depth about what is your passion, Elijah? Why is it that people follow you? Why is it that you're credible in our industry, and what makes you tick, if you don't mind? That's what I want you to go into.
Absolutely. So I'll tell you my why. So early in life, I found my why, and that was changing kids' lives. As a motivational speaker at 15 years old, I was able to go into a middle school or a high school and literally change people's lives. I really didn't know the extent until years later when I would get emails, letters to my mother's house still to this date, Facebook messages that said things like, you came into my high school, the day you came in, I was supposed to go home and take my life. And and I'm here today because of you. You stopped me from doing that from your words, or said something along the lines of, this is the first time I've got into college. Anybody's got into college in my family, thank you for that. Send me their degree. There's so many different things, and it feels good to be able to go and change people's lives and teach them that they have a beautiful mind. So I found my why really early on, and it was changing kids' lives. I didn't realize this, but adults need their lives changed just as much as kids. And so I got in a kind of a motivational speaking realm within dentistry, which has been amazing to have. And, I'll tell you that the most important thing of all is if you find out your why, spreading it and impacting a whole bunch of lives because of it. So that's mine.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, I think we get duped into this idea that we're supposed to make money first, but obviously the true thing is making meaning, and making meaning creates the money. So that's awesome. And I was I did the first Smiles at Sea cruise with you, correct? That was the very first one?
Yeah, you did the first and the second, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, it was an awesome thing. And you've got another one. When's your next Smiles at Sea cruise going?
The next cruise is happening in September, from Galveston to Cozumel. And then the following one will be in March, actually, to Cuba from Fort Lauderdale. You're actually speaking on that one again.
Yeah, thanks for the reminder. Elijah's always joking with me that he has to remind me. He's like, you're speaking next week for me. I'm like, okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So talk to me, Pete. What were you guys talking about prior to hit record?
Well, I asked him, let's not talk about something that's going to be talked about in the summit. And actually, I was telling Elijah that a couple of my docs are going to listen to him when he comes to Atlanta on his kind of superpower talk, which is the high value implant marketing, right, Elijah?
Yep.
And so I was like, well, let's unpack that today a little bit, because we haven't really uncovered that with Elijah, and I know that's what he sought after. I know you've onboarded a lot of clients and are helping a lot of people through, navigate through the marketing aspects of selling more comprehensive and complex treatment.
Absolutely. So that I'm excited for that event in Atlanta this Thursday. I'm super excited that your docs are going to be joining me on that. The biggest thing is not necessarily the marketing; it's what's around the marketing and the feelings attached to the marketing, and a lot to do with lifestyle as well. So many patients that come into your dental practice, they're coming in with their hand over their mouth because they're missing something, and that something can be called in short a smile. So they don't have confidence. And a lot of times when they're coming in, their confidence or their smile matches their clothes. It matches the way that they talk, and we judge. We're judging those people because of the way they're looking or their hair. You see these before and after pictures that dental practices take of patients. One of them is a patient that maybe their hair is all messed up and they have a jacked up smile. The other one is a picture of somebody with confidence. So they have, a new hairstyle. The dental practice didn't say, go get your hair done, right? Because that's how they feel. Or they have different clothes on and they're confident. That happened because of smile.
Or what I've noticed too, because, Elijah, a lot of what I did in my career or still do, not to the same degree, but a lot of cosmetic dentistry. And one thing I thought was always fascinating, not to jump in your talk here, but I noticed that a lot of times in the consultation, it was hard to make eye contact with some people. And then post insertion of smile and seeing them, it was like a different level of confidence. The eyes were locked. Like you could just tell, like they were lit, like their I don't know, their aura was lit. And it was, it's pretty neat to, and that transcends not just your confidence, but it does to the business and in your relationships. And, that's what I always stress to my friends. I have guys and gals in my town. I'm like, the number one thing to fix is your smile, because it literally impacts everything you do in business and your family and your children, everything. Right. So anyway, not to interject there, but I think it was kind of anecdotal information.
But it is keeping in with Elijah being the best guest listener. So yes. I appreciate you interrupting.
So interrupt him as much as possible.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
So go ahead, Elijah.
That's awesome. So
what I was going to say, Peter, was that. I'm sorry.
No, you're changing somebody's life at the end of the day. You're changing somebody's life, and they're able to go and get their new job, or they're able to go and get their boyfriend or their girlfriend because you've changed their life. I mean, I feel like that's the reason why we all go into dentistry, is to change people's lives, not necessarily to do regular restorations. So essentially what my company focuses on is life-changing moments. And so those life-changing moments, you're doing the right thing. However, you can live a better lifestyle as well. If you're practicing the right type of dentistry, you're able to take those days off, go on vacation, provide your family with the life that you want to provide them with, stay at home and not be working so much. I mean, Peter, I think you said you 10 hours a week
clinical
practicing.
Clinical. So, but I'm still putting in long 50 hour plus weeks, but 10 hours clinically. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, you're living the life that you want, and you're able to put more of those pictures behind your wall because you're creating that much more experiences. And that's what it's all about. So sure, I have a dental implant marketing company, but it's not about that. It's about the lives that are impacted and the amount of change that we can not only give dentists, but the patients that we're working with.
Yeah, man, it really is. It's just such a cool thing. And I know it gets talked about a lot in dentistry and kind of, it's almost cliche. We talk about, changing lives and all this stuff, but it's truly, when I say cliche, I mean, like, everyone seems to talk about it, right? But maybe not everyone is like kind of doubling down on that and really kind of doing that in their practice, like that, letting that be the focus, is like, I'm going to change one life today. Right. And I feel like if that was the something that you could look to doing, it totally changes the game for the day. I mean, Craig, you get to see that on a lot of cases you do, but obviously it's a little bit more slow motion because it's Invisalign, but like, I've seen some crazy transformations that you've done.
Yeah, I've done I used to do a lot of all-in-4, and the immediacy of going from teeth where it's basically a hand, when you have really, really desperate need, it's a handicap, because not only is the mouth the first step in the digestive tract. So if you don't have proper chewing function, you're swallowing larger pieces of food. Your body doesn't know how to deal with that. Your body's designed to extract the nutrients from very well macerated food. But also your smile, and I know it sounds cliche and I even hate going there, but your smile is a form of communication. And there are studies. I'm reading Joel Osteen's book, Every Day.
It's a universal form of communication.
Yeah, it's a universal form. It transcends all language. And we don't know why people behave in certain ways. But if you're embarrassed of your smile and you purse your lips, you may wind up thinking that person is mad at you or doesn't like you or doesn't, you may be thinking they're judging you, when in actuality, it's just they're embarrassed. I'm reading Joel Osteen's new book. Maybe it's not his new book, but a recent book, Every Day's Friday. And he just talks about the biblical references about smiling and how a smile is the most important thing for you to have. I mean, it's such a beautiful profession that we get to provide that for patients. And we forget that there is a law of familiarity, where if you're around something that's magnificent long enough, it tends to be mistaken for normal and common. And the tools that we have to transform smile, whether it's just freehand composite, all-on-4, Invisalign, a mock-up. I mean, geez, look at what Coachman's doing with DSD, where he waxes up or does a digital wax up and tries something in the mouth. I don't think I've ever done a mock-up smile that a patient did not commit to. But yet, how often are we employing that tool? If we were, everybody should be getting mock-ups, because it's the power, like Pete always says, you can't unsee certain things. So once you pick up a mirror,
you can't unring the bell is actually what I say.
Yeah, can't unring the bell. That's what, yeah. But in my mind, it's you can't unsee things. So I like that better. But Peter always says you can't unsee things. And when you try to smile.
That's because I've seen Craig in his underwear before, and I couldn't unsee it.
Why'd you go there, bro? The whole beginning of the podcast was way too much bromance, and now you had to drop that.
I'm kidding.
We're live. We can't even edit this one, man.
Elijah, tell me though. So what do you find practicing?
Yes, listener, Elijah. We love having you there. You look good, man. You got a wood bow tie. You're bringing out the best in us.
Elijah, so tell me, so when you talk to practices and you see them kind of struggling with enrolling larger implants obviously are higher dollar, higher skill. What do you see being the biggest impediment to that enrollment?
Absolutely. Finances.
Okay.
Finance is number one, team mindset number two, number three is contact rate. So I guess we'll start with number one, which is finances. So we want that person to come into our practice that we've spent this money on the marketing. We want them to come to our practice with, I envision your ideal patient, long, blonde or brown hair, whatever you like, and a Louis Vuitton purse, and beautiful, dressed and well put together, and this perfect smile. However, it's not that, it's the exact opposite. And whenever that patient initially calls the practice, they may be talking with a lisp. They may be a little ghetto. They may not be their ideal patient. And because that happens on a regular basis, the mindset of the entire team is affected. When that patient that was on the phone goes to make an appointment and they don't show up, now all of a sudden they're expecting these patients to show up, not show up. And so the mindset of the team that applies for care credit one time after the next, that gets denied, after they get it enough time, they turn off. And so now all of a sudden it doesn't work because of the mindset, because they go into the situation thinking, oh, well, this person's talking this way, so they're not going to be even scheduled an appointment, or they're price shopping. So, the chances of them showing up, so they don't give it 100%. So the mindset of the practice really is everything. And it is a numbers game. Not everybody is going to say yes. Not everybody is going to have that purse or credit card that can take on a $30,000 or $50,000 case. However, we should have the right mindset and think that everybody can. We need to have empathy for these patients. These patients are coming to us because they've lost so many of their teeth and because they're not happy with their smile. And if we come to us and we're judging them instead of having empathy, we're not going to be successful with it at all.
All right, Elijah, I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second, just because I think it'll be helpful for the conversation. So yes, as a practitioner, we look at there's only so many hours in the day. And if I only have so many at bats, so to speak, and I want to get, I want to move the needle in my practice financially. So I think some of that is just deep seated subconscious that oh yeah, going back to the woman, so like you were saying, the example is if the team has been trained, denied, right? And you only have so much time in the day, then your day essentially was a quote unquote a fail for the practice. Right. So they pivot to looking towards the woman with the Gucci purse or whatever, because they feel like there's a higher success of getting on base with the treatment enrolled. So so that was my devil's advocate thing is, yes, you need to treat everyone with empathy, and everyone can do ideal treatment. And you're right. You cannot judge a book by its cover, because sometimes those patients that you're talking about, that come in with, that don't look like they're going to enroll in treatment, they do Cadillac dentistry, treatment plan. But so what is the point of what you're saying when you were indicating people fail, or they fail to get approved for financing? So what's the thing that helps the practice move the needle in situations like that?
Good question. Going into it with the right mindset.
Okay.
Mindset that everybody has an opportunity, and there's a lot of people that won't be able to, but treating everybody the same. And secondly, having multiple finance options. Or having financial options.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
And so we won't get so many no's if we have 3, 4, 5 different ways that patients can pay for it.
What have you found be the most successful of the third party financing, or just creative financing internally, maybe even?
Yeah, absolutely. So the go-to for me is always care credit first.
Yeah.
So care credit is kind of the go-to
because of the highest approvals.
Care credit, number one, the most offices have care credit. They do not have the highest approvals, but it's almost like care credit's a universal language. So if I ask you what kind of financing you have, more than likely you're going to say you have care credit.
Craig, who charges us, the dentist, the highest fees of all the third party?
It's pretty much a dead race between Care Credit and Lending Club, depending on what product you choose. I know Care Credit and Lending Club have different rates for Invisalign, but I mean, to what you're saying, Elijah, people in America live in a monthly economy. They don't live in, no one has an $18,000 tooth fund in their
dental
bank
slush
account.
fund. Yeah.
But when you go to order cable, and I talk about this when I lecture, if the cable TV person's like, hey, do you like HBO? Yeah, cool. You like Showtime? Yeah, cool. All right, I got a package for you. It's 10 years of cable for $18,000. You would say, there's no way I'm doing cable, but your cable bill is $150 a month, and $150 a month over 10 years or 120 months is actually 18,000. So I don't know how much a Honda Accord costs retail price, but I'm pretty sure I've seen advertisements of it about 220 or
$300 probably. Yeah.
So when we present dentistry to Americans who live in a monthly economy as $10,000, that, they'll leave skid marks. But if you could break it down into a monthly payment of, 100 or 150 bucks a month, that's a total different language to most patients. I know, all three of us, if presented with an unanticipated $15,000 or $20,000 expense, would really alter our feelings about accepting anything. But if you have the ability to accept monthly. And I love what you said, Elijah, too, about the mentality, because we're not doing our patients a service by withholding information. And I believe that dentists don't present because there's an inherent fear of rejection. And it's not about you. You are hired to tell patients what's going on. I mean, in my practice, we don't do a lot of what we would consider straight cosmetic dentistry. So not a lot of my patients will come in to this practice and say, I don't like my teeth, and we do veneers on them. It's just not part of what we do. Not that there's anything wrong with it. We have a more restorative based and orthodontic practice. So our mantra is we have to tell you everything that's potentially going wrong with your teeth. And it's really not about me. I have an obligation to tell you everything I see. Maybe what I see won't manifest to become a problem for 5 or 10 years, but it's not about me, it's about you. And I think if dentists and other healthcare providers could start to hear that, it's not, if they get upset with me, I'll
the rejection thing is big though. You're right. I think we go for, I don't want to present that because I know they'll say yes to the single crown, but 8 at one time,
But the funny thing is, when a precipitating event happens where a patient breaks 2 teeth in the same quadrant, all these areas you've been watching, now the patient's like, hey, I broke these 2 teeth, I want to fix it. Then we go, okay, I have permission. But you could ask for that permission, So,
Elijah, can I tell another example here? Just, I don't want to get into the guest listener territory. I want to make sure, but it's pretty cool. It's something I've been studying a lot recently in kind of the context of marketing, and that's storytelling marketing. Okay. And so actually Josh Robbins turned me on to a guy who I've been following that's in Nashville and just pretty cool. And really the parallel to what Craig is kind of saying is that sometimes as the dentist, we have it all kind of wrong. We think we're the hero and we're just we're the hero in the story, right? Look at me, I'm going to fix your smile, bum, bum, bum. And we need to reframe that. We are just the guide to making the patient become the hero. And so Craig, back to your point. And if you reframe that and you're like, look, I'm just the guide. And if you reframe that, you can't really reject the guide. I'm just here to guide you to where I know you need to be if you want to be there. If you don't, then so really it takes the rejection out of the picture and doesn't make you feel as vulnerable if you switch into thinking, I'm just the guide. You're going to be the hero if you want to be.
Well, listen, every professional at its core should be an educator. So if patients really understand, if you do a good job of helping them understand all the choices, they'll make a good decision. All the consequences. The reason why certain dentists don't do well is they're not really great communicators to the patient. They don't give them the information properly in a way they can understand.
Do you see that being a problem, Elijah? I mean, at some point you can give someone all the tools in the toolbox, but at the end of the day, do you find that being a problem? Is that communication still is missing?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the whole reason why there's constant coaching and people are going to these seminars to get better. So yes, communication is absolutely a issue, and it is an issue that people are trying to fix. That's why the case presentation and any kind of communication seminars, they exist in the first place, is because it is an issue. We don't know how to communicate with the patients like we should, or we're not good enough, and we have to get better. And so yes, I absolutely do think that was an issue. And so, we were talking about finance. We were talking about mindset.
Right.
We covered those pretty good. And then the last one is contact rate. There's so many. I mean, I've dealt with well over 1,000 offices now in my career, And
you say contact rate? Sorry, just to make sure. Okay.
Yes, contact rate, meaning that dental practices, they do all kinds of marketing.
Mm-hmm.
I go to them and I ask them and say, okay, well, how is that billboard doing for you? Or how's that magazine doing for you? And the response that I get is, I don't think it's doing that good, or I think it's doing good, or it's going great. But the big picture is this: most of the marketing, it's doing good for you, but your contact rate sucks.
Mm-hmm.
So a patient reaches out to you. Why are 30% of the phone calls not getting answered? A new lead comes into your inbox. Why is it sitting there for 24 hours before they're followed up on? When people want something, they want it now.
Mm-hmm.
And so the contact rate is up there at the top. You know, you spend all this money on marketing, but the people aren't answering your phone calls. And when they're answering, they have a mindset of judgment. And when they come into your practice, there's no financial options. But if you can master all three of those levels, you'll be extremely successful.
I feel like you're right. I feel like there's a direct correlation to your speed of communication as to onboarding someone into your practice. Right. Because we live in that now economy. You know, we've been trained by Ubers, and like Craig and I talked about this a lot, and in the book a lot. Is that, you know, Amazon, the giant companies in our economy are training our society how we need to react, and you can either adapt and become more like them, or you can die. And dentistry, I feel like, is lagging. You know, we make people jump through all these hoops. We don't have this big easy button, Elijah, right? Like you're saying, even your financing, like just hit the easy button, like the car dealerships have gotten it. Hit the easy button. We'll put a car. Well, you can leave in 30 minutes. You know, sign and drive, right? We don't have a sign and smile. Oh wow.
Yeah. We have 21 viewers on Facebook right now that are patenting that right now while you're. Don't worry about it.
Signansmile.com. Oh, it's available. Awesome.
Yeah.
So
I just bought it. I'll sell it to you.
Good.
No, but it's true though. It's we just got Amazon Prime from Whole Foods to our area, Elijah. So, you know, the other day I'm thinking about what to order for lunch, and I ordered like a yogurt and blueberries for $5. It was dropped from Whole Foods to me in a cold container. It was crazy, and we live in an age where the consumer is expecting that for everything. So 10 years ago, it was no big deal to run a check to the bank. Now, if you tell me I have to run a check to the bank, it's a really difficult proposition. It's like you have to wait online and drive and blah, blah, blah. So
yeah, it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. And so we see that, but dentistry is late to the game. We're making it hard for patients. You know, oftentimes it's because doctors are trying to control that experience too. They're telling, you know, I've talked to somebody about scanning and doing CEREC in their practice, same day crowns. And they literally said, my patients don't mind coming back 2 times or sometimes 3 times. How do you know? If you ask your patient, would you rather have it done all today or come back in a week and a half or 2 weeks? Who's going to say, I love you so much, I want to do it. I want to see you again in 2 weeks. No one. And that's why Smile Direct and things like that are getting compelling interest. You know, even though Invisalign is a far superior product, they've made it so easy. They make these scanning centers that are, you know, that you can go
send it to your house. You send it to your house.
Yep.
So here's what happens. A patient types in dental implants, Delray Beach. And after that, what will happen is an ad will pop up, whether it's an ad from my company or another company's. There's an ad that pops up at the top on Google. They click that ad. They're trying to contact somebody. When they can't contact somebody, they click back twice and they contact somebody else. It's that easy. Who answers the phone, who contacts them, and who answers the phone with empathy. And so contact rate is so important to me. There's a question. Paula Jones says, do you feel that personal customer service makes a difference in sales? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. If you walk in the door, like, I don't know if any of you've been to Spodak Dental Group, to Craig's office, but if you walk into the door, immediately you feel the love. There's a concierge. Who has a concierge in their dental practice? If you have that, type it in the comments below. I have a personal concierge. Most of you don't, I'm sure. But Craig has a concierge in his dental practice, and everyone, and there's like 20 chairs, Craig?
18.
18 chairs. Everybody has a personal relationship with you when you walk in the door. There's a system to it. It's the best customer experience I have ever seen in dentistry to date in Craig's office.
Agreed.
And so that customer service goes so far because you know what? At the end of the day, people don't just want this cheap product. They want the best value. And if you're giving great customer service, they assume you do great dentistry. You can do horrible dentistry. People wouldn't even know. But if you treat them good, you treat them like people, you have empathy, then they're going to go ahead and think you're the best dentist ever.
Elijah, you just touched on the number one problem with our profession, by the way. The number one problem in our profession is that people cannot readily detect the dentistry they're receiving. So that's the issue. If there was a way that people could understand the quality of their dentistry, I'm not speaking for cosmetics, because cosmetics is a whole other thing. But even some patients don't understand what teeth should look like. The people don't understand what they're getting. So that's why I think we have such a successful integration of corporate into our profession, because corporations, even though they're widely considered to not be great for the profession, they do it better than the average dentist does. They make it look and feel better. So the average dentist doesn't invest in his or her practice. He goes out as soon as he makes some money and buys an ice cream store. We talk about that in our book. We talk about that exact phenomenon in our book. There's so many people like on the dental investment page and all this stuff like, hey, what about a side business?
Subway looks good. Subway looks good.
Yeah, we could do a bin candy store. I'm like, bro, your chairs are from the Brady Bunch era and you have shag carpeting. Upgrade your office, upgrade your own. We know how to do dentistry and we know how to invest in our, we know what's going to provide us the highest ROI, but for some reason, dentists think that outside business is the easiest thing. It's just not.
It's a stay in your lane conversation, Elijah, is what we talk about, just encouraging folks to, what got you here will kind of get you there. So you but stay in your lane, which you know what to do, Just because you're successful building a dental practice does not mean you'll be successful with running a Subway.
And the second and third location thing too, by the way.
That's
if
true.
You're a solo practitioner and you have an idea to build a second and third location as a solo practitioner, even just a second location, that really makes very little sense to me. I'd love to see people commenting below if you know someone that opened up a second location, driving around between two locations, trying to be in two places at once, and that's working out well for them. I don't understand why people do that.
Why people what?
Open up the second
spread themselves thin with multiple locations?
Right. So they have two teams working independently of you while you're in one location. No one's covering your stuff over there. No one's actually, providing dentistry in the primary location. So you have a support team that's burning your overhead while you're somewhere else. That makes no sense to me.
So, okay. So the multiple practice model doesn't make sense to you, or the one where it's a single owner?
Correct. The single owner multiple practice model. I see that a lot. So people get fairly busy in one and say, you know what, why don't I consolidate my 4 days a week to 2 here and I'll do 2-3 days somewhere else.
I see. Okay.
And drive it around.
Okay.
Paula, again, by the way, thank you so much for your comments. What role do you think word of mouth plays in marketing nowadays?
I mean, it's a massive role. That's a massive role.
I think it's higher than it ever's been too. Don't you agree, Elijah?
Absolutely. It's referral. It's knowing that somebody has been there and they've done that. The personal referral is everything. And I'm going to tell you what, you can have a whole bunch of personal referrals if you change somebody's life. That's a walking billboard for you. I mean, let's face it. Whenever these dental practices, they're doing these great things and publicizing them about changing one person's smile and giving it away. You've heard of these, right? I think it's amazing. You're changing somebody's life for free.
Yep.
Well, the big picture is you're also telling the world you have the ability to do this, and then that patient is going to go step outside your office and tell everybody who did their smile. So that makes all the sense in the world to me.
I want to say one thing about, just to Paula's comment, word of mouth is not, so word of mouth 10 years ago was you saw Sally, you did a smile makeover on her, and then Sally happened to go out to dinner with a bunch of friends. And this just so happens that dentistry would come up and she would mention you. Today, word of mouth is literally your social media page. So people have social media all wrong. And for those that are going to our summit, I'm hoping that this is one of the major pearls that you get, It's not about posting Garfield and the stock photography that you can get from all the various outlets about, SMH, it's Monday, or time to brush your teeth or whatever. It's not about pushing out a message. It's about pulling people in, engagement. That engagement word you're talking about is creating a conversation. So when Sally now goes and leaves your practice and she checked in on Facebook or saying, I'm so happy, that is word of mouth, but it's word of mouth on steroids. It's word of mouth like what with rocket fuel, because everything is viral now. All of her friends see that. And if one of her friends happens to like it, now you tapped into their friends. It's literally exponential. So Sally has 300 friends, but one friend likes it that has another 700 friends. Now it's 1,100 or 1,000 people that have seen it. So that word of mouth is so important now.
And two, I think that's going back to how the monster businesses in our economy have trained us. Look at Facebook and look at Amazon. Facebook is popular because of social credibility, right? You can actually post something and have, the social conversation. And Amazon has trained us to look at reviews for pencil sharpeners, reviews for everything from your peers or people that are looking for pencil sharpeners or microphones, whatever it is. Like, it's training us. So that's the same word of mouth and what Craig is saying, the social media, it all sits under the same kind of ecosystem as social meritocracy.
I don't want to get tangential on this one thing, but the cool thing about, you brought something up that I thought was cool. So right now our reps, our Patterson, Sullivan Shine, Benco reps come in and say, this is an awesome cement. This is what everybody's using. Everybody's doing it. And that's cool. Or you can go on a Facebook chat room and find out what everybody's using. But imagine when Amazon is in full swing selling dental supplies. Imagine the fact that I go on, I'm looking for like a micro etcher, and I see that Dr. Boulden rated it, or that, the reviews. It's not the convenience anymore. It's the reviews. Like that pencil sharpener you're talking about. Like, I oftentimes will go to a store because I need the pencil sharpener today, but I'm still pulling up Amazon on my phone and I'm literally investigating the reviews on it. So Amazon's true merit may not be the convenience, but the fact that it's a meritocracy. And that same thing exists.
100%.
It's the same thing for your business as well. So you may have the most convenient hours, or maybe the Amazon like dental practice in your environment, in your community, but your reviews are so important. It's not the amount of reviews, it's the frequency that matters as well. So.
I totally agree with you. Greg May asked a good question. He says, how long should a dental implant consult take? And then he said, what's up, fellas? So,
as short as possible.
Yeah.
So first off, take as long as it takes to say yes.
And then get out of the room. Sorry, go Elijah.
That's crazy. Actually, Greg is, we've been working with both of his practices for quite a while. So Greg, I think that question was directed towards me. First off, let me go ahead and tell you this. You should not be spending, as a dentist, a whole bunch of time on the dental implant consult. That's a waste of your time. It should not be spent there. You should have the expert, the confident experts deal with that patient. You should not have them clogging up your entire schedule. Listen, you could leave and do a hygiene consult all day like you do all the time, Craig, right? It's not that difficult to leave and do an implant consult. It should be set up for you. It should be set up for you. Your team should be that good to where you don't have to spend a whole bunch of time. So, Greg, you said, how long should an implant consult take? I'm going to go with 15, 20 minutes.
Wow, that's long.
And that's but here's the thing. That's if they've made it to that stage. They should be a 15 minutes of your time of a patient that says yes. And maybe it's shorter, but the big picture is you shouldn't see most of the patients. They shouldn't even get to you. But when somebody comes and they want to pay you $20,000 to $50,000, that might make more sense. And maybe it's just 5 minutes for everybody else, but it shouldn't be taking up your whole schedules. I see a lot of dentists, they block out their whole schedule. They waste their time. Some of the patients don't even show up in the first place.
But too, like Craig was saying, be situationally aware of yourself in the consultation and look for the buying words that someone's pretty much already wanting to do the treatment. Like, you've done your clinical spiel and then they start asking about the price or this and that. And that's when you need to bail, because how many times have you seen a doctor unsell treatment?
Yeah.
right? So I think the takeaway is get the hell out of the room once you start hearing those questions and let the professionals enroll it, because the patient's already said yes. All you're going to do is find ways to unsell the treatment. And that, again, is going to be a disservice as the guide. It's a disservice to making that patient the hero, right?
I've come to see so many different styles, though, Pete and Elijah, of people doing it so differently. And I hate this one size fits all thing that we're kind of going down, because there are providers that have very unique styles. The most important thing is that patients understand and you're committing them, because if we fail, I look at it like this. If we fail, especially in a more needs-based practice like mine, if I fail on telling someone the benefits of the dental implant, fixing that space they have, if I don't land them, 5 years down the road, they're going to be spending a lot more money and doing a lot more dentistry because I was not convincing enough. It's almost like everything needs to be sold. And I hate to use that word, but sold. But we have $1 million campaigns to stop people from smoking. The government spends hundreds, maybe tens of millions of dollars trying to get people to stop smoking. They have the Truth campaign. It shouldn't need to be sold. Cigarettes kill, don't frickin' smoke. But we have public service campaigns about smoking, about drunk driving, about seatbelts. So we're in the same boat. We have to spend an inordinate amount of time to help patients understand what's good for them, what's best for them. And if we fail, they're going to get worse. How many times, Pete, have you told a patient, like, you got a bunch of decay, I know it doesn't hurt you right now, but you got to fix it. And they disappear for a year or two. And what would have been $1,000 or $800 is now 10 or 15 or 20,000. So I always tell my docs, if you fail, you're failing the patient. It's not about you. It's not about you getting the sale. It's about letting the patient know. It's that alignment. What Elijah said is like how you feel. And if you feel you're actually doing ethical dentistry that's going to help people spend less money, it's perfect. But when you get into the sales tools of it, I always kind of I just feel weird about it, because I'm really aligned about what's right for the patient, and that's also just something that I guess it's me, and I've got 3 generations of dentistry, so I feel like it's a little bit more purpose for me. But I don't mind telling fees, I don't mind discussing fees, but I do know when to get out. When you get in the weeds,
so that works for you, right? But you're a little bit, your personality is a little bit different than most of us dentists who are introverts, right? And so I think we're just talking 30,000 foot view on this. Like, yeah, you may be the exception to the rule, but I think as a whole, from what the practices that Elijah teaches or helps, wouldn't you say that sometimes we have a tendency to untalk treatment, Elijah?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Yes. That's all I was saying. I mean, yeah, of course there's exceptions to the rule, Craig. Of course.
Yeah, for sure.
So, all right, Elijah. So that's the third. That was the third. I'm saying touch point. You say contact point.
Contact point.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The contact point is everything, and this isn't out yet, but it's about to be out. When I talk about contact point, there's this company called Lead Owl. I've never met the owner. I don't know them personally, but I've seen their software. It's so amazing when it comes to contact point. Lead Owl.
Lead Owl.
Yep, it's not even out yet. But basically what will happen is, say you do have a phone call that comes in from your marketing, or you have a email or whatever it may be. There's like a text message that comes up on your phone, and all the people's phone, that says a lead just came in. And then in like 5 minutes, it's a reminder that nobody got in contact with them yet. And it goes to multiple phones, 15 minutes, and so on. You can set it to whatever you want. But I think the contact rate, that'll help, especially when it comes to Google ads, because people that are searching Google ads, they want something and they want it right now. They don't want to wait. So you need to hurry up and get in touch with them.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, like the amount of, if you went to go shop for a car and you registered, or you went to go see an open house, it's amazing the amount of drip campaigns or remarketing that you would get in most businesses. Yeah. In my practice, if you come and check out Invisalign for yourself and disappear, we're most likely not going to hound you, which is a really major hole. Or if you had diagnosed decay, we're not going to probably be chasing you as fervently as most businesses would. And if you don't buy the car, your life condition will not change as drastically as if we fail to convince you that you need to take care of your decay. If you fail to take care of your decay, your tooth is going to start getting extremely expensive over time as neglect and time goes on. It's interesting. I don't know, what type of drip campaigns do you have, Pete? If someone comes in and has a veneer consult with you and then says, let me think about it, what's the best point?
I don't do drip campaigns. Have you ever gotten in do you like being involved in a drip campaign as a consumer? Do you like being dripped too? Yeah.
No, God, no.
Okay. So therefore I don't do it too.
No, although let me specify. So if my let's just say my dermatologist said, well, no, I don't necessarily, there's certain things that I know are good for me, like my yearly dermatology visit, my teeth would be included in that, oil changes for my car. I don't mind.
That's not a drip campaign.
So
that's a reminder.
Okay.
A drip campaign is a sequence of emails that you're going to get because you expressed an interest in X. Then now you'll get an email on Y, Z, and now you'll be getting almost spam to a certain degree.
Got it.
And it's hard to break out of that loop. So you're basically dripping information to them slowly so that technically when you get the touch point, it's that 15th time or that 20th time they've been touched by you and they're getting valuable information that they're going to pick up the phone and finally call you. Okay, you got me on email number 12. Yeah. I don't do them because I didn't have a lot of success with them in the past, and I never liked being the quote unquote victim of a drip campaign, so I don't do them.
Dripped. You don't like being dripped on.
I don't like to be dripped on.
Yeah, in general, right? Like if you're sitting in a leaky air conditioner vent, you don't like.
Do not drip on me. There will be problems.
It's kind of like borderline waterboarding, depending if you're still or not.
You're just one.
So Paula asked another really good question. She said, how many implant options are ideal to offer in an office? And so my immediate question with that, or answer to that, would be a minimum of 2. Because there's large companies out there, we won't say any names. Oftentimes they give you 1 option. And you know, it might not be the best option for you. So that goes with what I had talked about a little bit ago. Essentially, if you tell them that you're going to tell them all their options is not 1. So I say a minimum of 2, and try not to overwhelm them with too many options. Well,
Elijah, when that company is only holding a screwdriver, everything looks like a bunch of screws.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's another really, you know what, there's a lot of different companies out there, and I'm not talking about this one necessarily, but a lot of practices we talk to, they say, well, I don't know if we would even be successful with marketing because we have a company like Clear Choice that's in our area, and they spend tens of millions of dollars on marketing. You know, I don't think that's, we even have a chance. Well, here's the really cool thing. They're actually educating so many patients. It's not funny. And guess what? They're spending tens of millions of dollars. You know what you need to do? All you need to do, okay, I'm letting out a big old value drop.
Here it goes.
Go on Google AdWords and type in Clear Choice Nashville and guinea pig off of all the marketing.
There you go.
But if you're in Nashville, if you're in Detroit, don't do that. It'll be a colossal waste of money. Because people are very literal, Elijah.
Elijah, that is a massive hack for advertising. I'm glad you said that because that's such an easy thing. Piggyback on that. Don't accept defeat. Actually be like, thanks for doing all that for me, and pick up where they left off. And now you can deliver the granular customer service that they couldn't have.
Yes.
Love it. There we go. Let's just end on that. Let's end.
Yeah. Microphone drop. You have a microphone, Pete? You want to drop that sucker there?
I can't. It's on a mount, and it's real. It's
too hard.
So Elijah, man, again, you're an awesome dude, which is the most important thing, and you definitely deliver massive value. I'm excited to be able to hang out with you in October. I'm excited to hear your presentation, which is completely different than what we talked about today in October at the summit. And man, it's just been nice to hang out with you again, even virtually.
Absolutely. Thank you all. Can you drop the date so everybody, that all the viewers that I'm
it's at the St. Regis, okay, October 12th and 13th. 11th through 13th. I guess you can arrive for the cocktail kind of thing. Atlanta at the St. Regis in Buckhead, which is, that's where, that's our rodeo drive, and where you can do a lot of walking around. There's great restaurants and great shops. And we got an awesome room rate. So we really want to deliver like top-notch experience but not have it be like a top-notch, typically they're $500 plus a night, and we got it negotiated down to half of that. So we want to deliver like a top-tier experience, because everything's about experience, right? These days. And
you learn better too when it's a transformational experience. Sure. We have cocktail hours and the level of
so you learn better in a St. Regis than you do a Holiday Inn, Craig?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
Got it.
Got it. That's awesome. So I have a couple questions for you all, for all of my listeners that are listening in. You guys have extremely successful practices, totally different practices, right? Peter, you've got 4 or 5 practices. You're only clinical 10 days a week. Craig, you have this massive facility that's green. You're super successful, and there's a format that you're providing at this summit, right? So there's a TED Talk format, but there's also a lot of people that are listening. I'm sure they want to know, like, how much are you guys going to be giving your value, right? How much are you all going to be participating in your own summit, and what does a TED Talk look like?
So can I take this, Craig?
Please.
All right, so let me take the reverse order. TED Talk is, as anyone who hasn't seen it, they're capped at 20 minutes, where the presenter has to be compelled to deliver massive value as quickly as possible in kind of a story format, essentially, right? So you're really distilling your message down. You don't have time to sell anything. All you have time to do is kind of create that engagement, so that people, if they hear what you're talking about, they can follow up with you later if they want more. At the summit, Craig and I will speak a fair amount. I think, total time, because we have a fair number of speakers. I think we have close to 7 speakers. So Craig and I do have obviously the lion's share of the stage time, and it is a lot. But we also have a lot of time reserved to not just kind of sit there and pontificate on stage. We actually are going to be engaging as a group, and that's why we capped it at 70 people, because we want to be able to kind of get into the granular operations of certain aspects of people's practice. So that's why we have that promise, Elijah, is the 10x guarantee. We promise you whatever you spend coming to this conference on the tuition, that you will 10x this in the next 12 months you do, or we'll give you your money back for the conference. Because literally we're going to just, like, there's no agenda, as Craig says, there's no agenda. We're not selling consulting. We're not doing anything. It really just deliver massive value, help the profession as a whole, and just deliver massive value.
And by the way, you can't put 70 people in a room in an interactive format with microphones and breakout sessions and all that stuff and not have massing learning for all of us. This is not, this is not, as Peter said, pontificating from the stage, but sharing our best practices amongst all of us. And there's no follow-up. So I'm just seeing now these days, people get up for a 3-hour lecture and it's all an extended sales tool.
It's a big old pamphlet.
Yeah, it's a big brochure on, like, hey, sign up and you'll get the rest. I've actually been told when I've been lecturing for other people, don't give all the value. Don't give them everything. Just leave them hanging. I'm like, well, for what? Because I don't consult. I don't want to get in the weeds. But if you leave this summit and you have basically everything Peter and I have ever learned in the combined 38 years of practice together and can institute massive value in your own practices, we're helping the profession. And that's going to be our sense of fulfillment right there. So that's why we do this. And that's why we're spending time like this on a Monday afternoon with all of you guys. So one thing I want to add too, because I know we only have a couple spots left. What do we have? We're maybe 20 or so spots left.
Yeah.
Don't come alone. If you're a doctor listening to this podcast, or a hygienist listening to this, or an assistant or office manager, you need to bring at least one other person, because everybody goes to these seminars, gets all fired up, and around your office, they know you went to a seminar. So on Monday morning, you're all fired up, you're going a million miles an hour, and everybody's talking about you. Oh, don't worry, Dr. Jones has been through this before. By Wednesday, he'll forget everything. Mm-hmm. So you need a stakeholder. You need someone that's actually active in the leadership of your practice, because between you and the other person joining on this, you guys will create a vision and a mission for the practice.
And accountability to each other who attended, right? I think that's the biggest thing, is like, let's hold each other accountable to implement some of these awesome ideas that's going to move the needle for us this year.
Yeah,
absolutely. Real quick, is there roundtables? Will there be roundtable sessions? And how many hours of like open format are planned?
I think there's a couple on each day. Sorry, Craig. I think there's a couple on each day. We have
this cool concept. We're going to be doing a lot of live polling during the, we've opened up live polling during it. So we're going to create breakout themes. So maybe there's a good percentage that want to talk about associate contracts or maybe buy-in or build outs or stuff like that. So we're going to kind of keep it live. And we have a thing that Pete and I talked about that no one will stand in a microphone for more than a minute. So in the middle of us talking, there's microphones set up in aisles. If you get up and walk to a microphone, we freeze, because this is not about just saying a preformed agenda. Of course, we have an agenda, but if the collective interest is gearing towards one way, we want to start shaping it that way. You know, I've gone to so many lectures that they just totally missed the mark. So it's an organic process. And if we spend an extra 20, 30 minutes because 2 or 3 people, we'll even poll like, hey, Dr. Jones wants to talk about associate buy-ins. We create a quick online poll. If you want to talk about associate buy-ins, we can talk about Marketing Ninja. Start polling right now and we'll go there. Democracy rules. So it's not this old style grandpa's, your grandfather's lecture. It's going to be totally dynamic.
That's awesome. And is there CE that's given out at this event?
Of course.
Yes. Good. You know what? We don't have that. We don't have that publicly on the website, but or maybe we do now. But there is CE. There is PACE.
So it's a write-off, which is awesome. Justin Bernard asks, "What are some great?" We'll save that. Is there anything else that that you guys have to add? The dates are what again?
October 11th, 12th, and 13th.
11th, 12th, and 13th. Okay. And the website for that, I'm sure you're going to put that in the links, right?
It's just Bulletproof Summit. Yeah. And then it links you to the registration page. And then there's more videos of us talking about kind of the value.
Okay. Awesome. I can think of a couple of dentists that need to go here for sure. Make sure they see this. And then do you have anything else to add before we answer this last question?
No, I think that covers it, man. I think you can tell we're pretty fired up to do it. And I think, like Craig said, we're excited to learn as much as anybody else, because we, as much as yes, we're kind of sitting from the stage of the organization, but I guarantee you, I'm going to come out of that conference with 10 things to implement in my ecosystem.
I always do, especially when it's interactive. Because listen, we've approached most problems our own way, but it's going to be like, okay, how does the group, anybody mastered this problem? Because we've all had the same problem. Yeah. There's no unique problem in that.
Yeah, they're just variations, right?
It's just variations.
Yep. So that goes back to the thing that we said before we even started. So when we're talking in this summit, I would recommend that we utilize the same thing that we utilized in Entrepreneur Organization, EO, and that is talking from a Gestalt standpoint. So many times you're telling people, well, you should do this, or you shouldn't do that, or if I were you, I would do this. None of that. You should only be able to experience share. So in my experience,
I like that.
This is how I handled it. This is how I overcame the situation. Now that's up to them. Instead of you should. No,
I like that.
Share.
Let's do it. Yep. We'll implement that, Elijah. That's a great.
And what's applicable in our practices, it doesn't translate. It's not like we're all it's not like we're all franchisees of Chick-fil-A.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like everybody that's coming there has their own unique dental practice, their own unique culture, and it's never one size fits all. It's a very important part.
Absolutely. So what, Justin Bernard, I think is the last question before you guys, if you guys are done. He says, What are some great implant financing saving ideas when Care Credit or Lending Club isn't an option in-house implant financing plan? Let me just go ahead and tell you really quick. First off, whatever Care Credit and Lending Club don't get approved, I would say that an option is Proceed Finance. Proceed Finance has a much lower credit score that they will approve, and their average case is $10,000 approval. So Proceed Finance, look it up. That is that's the main lender for actually Clear Choice, I believe. So Proceed Finance, they get you 100% of your money up front, similar fees to the big guys, but you get all your money up front. It's a bigger case and more acceptance.
And also, I've never heard of them before, so this is in no way a plug or an endorsement because I know nothing about them. Nope. But just went to their website, 96-month repayment term. That's off the hook, man. That's 8 years, right? 96 months, 8 years.
Absolutely.
Imagine when you're in a monthly economy and all you have is 60 months and you can offer a 96 month, it's going to be a very, very different
yeah, they actually hit us up, Craig. I hadn't told you this. When he wanted to get on the podcast to kind of speak to our listenership.
Yeah, Pete and I are always really reticent to have people selling from our podcast. We've gotten opportunities to make money, and we don't want to contaminate what we're doing with that. But hey, listen, if you like him,
but to Justin's point, if that may be an option. Like Elijah, I haven't even heard that as kind of a third option. So that's awesome. That's awesome.
I mean, for me personally, and I have very limited experience with this, but I love the idea of the dentist doing their own financing via, maybe like a compassionate finance. I have no experience with them, so I'm not endorsing them either, but something where you could actually play the role of bank.
Yep, compassionate finance and eye care. I have a lot of offices that use both of them. And some offices that use one or the other. So the really cool thing about having all these offices across the country, I know what's working and what's not working with the finance stuff. I'm not claiming anyone, right? I just know everybody should have care credit. I'm not, I have no relationship with any of these companies.
Right.
It's just what I've seen work in the marketplace. So in office, eye care, compassionate, and then outside, besides Lending Club and Care Credit, you have Proceed, and Proceed they're killing it. So.
And also, there's always a good idea to point patients to their credit card companies. There's useful tools. Your bank may offer you a loan. There's other things that you could have at your access. You got to think outside the box. I know that Scott Luna talks about a special type of credit card in all of his breakaway practices that they could open up and get credit that way. So just completely have them do it on their own, which is one option as well.
We can't give all the nuggets away.
Right.
Trust me, we could have 7 days and not give it all away.
I know. Just 4 hours, easy.
Elijah, enjoyed having you on again, pal. And again, reiterate, I look forward to seeing you soon, bud. And it's always fun to hang out. Craig, that's it. I don't have anything else. That was a long one.
Yeah,
been a good one. But we just kept massive value bombs there, right? Right, Elijah?
Thanks for all the people who joined on our Facebook Live, and any comments or posts or sharing that you want to do. We'll try our best to answer those as time goes on. And we look forward to seeing you all again on the next edition of the Bulletproof Practice Podcast.
All righty. Good night, everyone.